The word of the Lord. Thanks be to God. 1 Samuel chapter 27. David flees to the Philistines. David said to himself, I shall perish some day at the hand of Saul. I have no choice but to escape to the land of the Philistines. Then Saul will give up his continual search for me throughout the land of Israel, and I will be out of his reach. Accordingly, David departed with his 600 soldiers and went over to Achish, son of Moath, king of Gath. David and his men lived in Gath with Achish, each one in his family, and David and his 2 wives, Ahinoam from Jezreel, and Abigail, the widow of Nabal from Carmel. When Saul learned that David had fled to Gath, he no longer searched for him. David said to Achish, if I meet with your approval, let me have a place to live in one of the country towns. Why should your servant live with you in the royal city? That same day Achish gave him Ziklag, which has therefore belonged to the kings of Judah up to the present time. In all, David lived 1 year and 4 months in Philistine territory. David raids Israel's foes. David and his men went out on raids against the Jezreelites, Girzites, and Amalekites, peoples living in the land between Talam on the approach to Shur and the land of Egypt. In attacking the land, David would not leave a man or woman alive, but would carry off sheep, oxen, donkeys, camels, and clothes. Then he would return to Achish, who would ask, against whom did you raid this time? David would reply, against the Negeb of Judah, or against the Negeb of Jerahmeel, or against the Negeb of the Kenites. David never left a man or a woman alive to be brought to Gath. He thought, they will betray us and say this is what David did. This was his custom. As long as he lived in Philistine territory, Achish trusted David, thinking his people Israel must certainly detest him. I shall have him as my vassal forever. 1 Samuel chapter 28. In those days, the Philistines mustered their military forces to fight against Israel. So Achish said to David, you realize, of course, that you and your warriors must march out for battle with me. David answered Achish, good. Now you shall learn what your servant can do. Then Achish said to David, I shall appoint you as my permanent bodyguard. Now Samuel was dead. All Israel had mourned him and buried him in the city Ramah. Meanwhile, Saul had driven mediums and diviners out of the land. Saul in despair, the Philistines rallied, and coming to Shunem, they encamped. Saul too mustered all Israel. They camped on Gilboa, mustered all Israel. They camped on Gilboa. When Saul saw the Philistine camp, he grew afraid and lost heart completely. He consulted the Lord, but the Lord gave no answer, neither in dreams, nor by Urim, nor through prophets. Then Saul said to his servants, find me a medium through whom I can seek counsel. The servants answered him, there is a woman in Endor who is a medium, the medium at Endor. So he disguised himself, putting on other clothes, and set out with 2 companions. They came to the woman at night, and Saul said to her, divine for me. Conjure up the spirit, I tell you. But the woman answered him, you know what Saul has done, how he expelled the mediums and diviners from the land. Then why are you trying to entrap me and get me killed? But Saul swore to her, by the Lord, as the Lord lives, you shall incur no blame for this. Whom do you want me to conjure up? The woman asked him. Conjure up Samuel for me, he replied. Samuel appears. When the woman saw Samuel, she shrieked at the top of her voice and said to Saul, why have you deceived me? You are Saul. But the king said to her, do not be afraid. What do you see? I see a God rising from the earth, she replied. What does he look like? Asked Saul. An old man is coming up wrapped in a robe, she replied. Saul knew that it was Samuel, and so he bowed his face to the ground in homage. Saul's doom. Samuel then said to Saul, why do you disturb me by conjuring me up? Saul replied, I am in great distress, for the Philistines are waging war against me, and God has turned away from me. Since God no longer answers me through prophets or in dreams, I have called upon you to tell me what I should do. To this Samuel said, but why do you ask me? If the Lord has abandoned you for your neighbor, the Lord has done to you what he declared through me. He has torn the kingdom from your hand and has given it to your neighbor David, because you disobeyed the Lord's directive and would not carry out his fierce anger against Amalek. The Lord has done this to you today. Moreover, the Lord will deliver Israel and you as well into the hands of the Philistines. By tomorrow you and your sons will be with me, and the Lord will have delivered the army of Israel into the hands of the Philistines. Immediately Saul fell full length on the ground, in great fear because of Samuel's message. He had no strength left. Since he had eaten nothing all that day and night, then the woman came to Saul, and seeing that he was quite terror-stricken, said to him, "Remember, your maidservant carried out the request you made of me. Now you in turn, please listen to your maidservant. Let me set out a bit of food for you to eat, so that you are strong enough to go on your way." But he refused, saying, "I will not eat." However, when his servants joined the woman in urging him, he listened to their entreaties, got up from the ground, and sat on a couch. The woman had a stall-fed calf in the house, which she now quickly slaughtered. Then, taking flour, she kneaded it, and baked unleavened bread. She set the meal before Saul and his servants, and they ate. Then they got up and left the same night. The word of the Lord. Thanks be to God. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. God bless you.